It's Shannon.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon Live.
It's
Crazy
Shannon.
them because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
My kids empowered me to get
What's
out.
going on with this remote learning and in the midst of COVID?
Working for different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put your community first.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon. Hello there, Dr. Vanessa. How you doing?
Hello, Shannon. I'm just so nice and hot.
I know. Stop trying to rub it in, please. Listen, we're continuing celebrating Women's History Month, and we've been talking to some powerhouse women for this month. And the women are just doing it now. We are taking over the world, regardless of what people say. We are taking over the world, and we're going to continue. So we have a powerhouse on the show tonight. So would you tell us who she is?
Absolutely. We have today our special guest is Dr. Neva Alexander. She is the CEO of Neva Alliance, a global management training and consulting company. She is the go-to person for entrepreneurs who are focused on strategically developing their businesses and building a suitable business model for their enterprise. Let's welcome Dr. Neva to the show.
Hello there, Dr. Neva. How are you?
I am great. How are you, ladies?
We're just great, and we're so happy to have you joining us, the powerhouse for tonight. So, look, you're just doing so many things. I don't even know where to start at. So let's just start with, who are you? Who is Dr. Neva?
Oh my God. Okay, Dr. Neva is a humble young lady, a humble person that came from humble beginnings. Let's start with, I have my doctorate in educational leadership. I have my master's in social science, and I have my bachelor's in legal studies. I started back way. So thought I was going to be an attorney, then got interested in social science, looking at the international world and how it operates, culture and all those stuff. And eventually just moving on to having my own business where I do a lot of training and consultancy. And that's who I am in a nutshell.
All right now. Now listen, we know you. Well, we know who you are, but the audience don't know you. Now we know that you are global. You travels around the world, Dubai, India, Saudi Arabia. You're all over the place. So now you started this business, Neva Alliance, which is a training career program. So what made you decide to start this, to develop this company? Because I know you just didn't wake up that morning and say, look, I want to build this empire and career. What made you decide to set up this business?
Okay, we are keeping it real, right? So let's keep it real. So let's start back 2009 in Queens, New York. I had an organization called Caribbean Business Network. And I did it out of a need to connect, to network, to meet individuals. And at the time, I came back from, I have a roller coaster of a story, but I came back from Georgia with, basically, I started a business in Georgia. It did not work out. So I came back to New York. I started selling insurance because I just had to get a job. I had to pay the mortgage, right? And from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to create this network, and I started meeting a lot of people, but I was not interested in telling them I sold insurance. I was so interested in the people there, what they're doing, and actually could not figure out how to make money from this networking. Eventually, I got called to work in Saudi Arabia as a professor. So I went there, but the entire time it's always I want to do something for myself. I
Right.
see my value and, my knowledge and everything. And I'm like, what can I do? So I sat there and I thought about it. And at the end of my contract, I did not feel like renewing. And I came back to the States. I was looking for a job, but I had the idea for the business. And the job situation was not working for me. It was either I'm overqualified or,
Oh yes, one of those.
and I'm like, what did I run into? Or even if I remember taking off my, sending out my resume and took off the fact that I was at my doctorate, and they Googled me. So I was just like a hopeless case. So
They go to that website, internet.
And
So
I don't know why that should matter. I don't understand how someone is overqualified. I never got that one.
listen, I sat in an interview and I was like, I got this. And and at the end, it's just like, by the way, are you a doctor? And I'm like, yeah, I knew it was off of the resume. She's like, yeah. At that time, I knew I did not have the job. So I just kept, pressing on and doing what I have to do. But of course, yes, between then, I've had teaching opportunities or instructor opportunities in different levels and stuff that I kept doing. But I kept pushing my business and growing my business as best that I can.
Okay.
right. That's interesting because a lot of things, like you was called to Saudi Arabia, right? So a lot of things that, what can you have offered there that the people in the US could have really benefit from your teaching?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good question. Well, what I didn't realize the value that I was going to bring for me, it
Mhm.
was an opportunity to go overseas and, be a professor, right? And actually at the same time, I got turned down for a professor job on Long Island. So when I got called there, I'm like, well, maybe that's my calling. I'm going to go.
Right.
But what I found was that the students, they looked up to me, and I was teaching only females because they separate males from females, right? So the young ladies, they looked up to me, and sometime in a scary way. um, yeah, quick story. I remember one saying she wanted to be just like me, and I'm like, oh, proud. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. And I'm not gonna get married either, because if you get married, that means you're not gonna be successful. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, no, that's not. But yeah, it's the value there for me. It's just, and don't get me wrong, here in the States, they do need to see women, in positions doing things that they could look up to, right? And seeing that they have options. But for the woman or the young ladies in Saudi, it was just wow. And for me, I really enjoyed it because I loved what I'm doing. And I taught them, like my leadership class, it was pumping. It was a lot happening in, those classes and communication classes. So,
So just for clarification, Dr. Neva, you teach the women how to build their business, or you help them decide what career path they want to take?
all that.
Okay.
All that. Yes. So more so on the entrepreneurship side, I have programs that I've created which pretty much helping them to set up and move forward. I'm talking about here in the States. So from, their business plan and making sure that they have everything in order to basically do a successful business. There are some that more on the nonprofit that I have, that they're looking to go to college, or maybe it's not just high school students. There's some that, I don't know what I want to do, that will come to me and we'll speak about it. But that's on the nonprofit side. On my business side is more getting them prepared for entrepreneurship.
That's interesting because, like, we know that from the pandemic, right? A lot of great entrepreneurship came out of the pandemic because people lost their jobs. They need to find ways and things
Right.
to survive and pay their bills.
Mhm.
But then again, when people decide to become an entrepreneur, do they really know what entrepreneurship is? What about business documentation, planning, having a
Right.
timeline, record keeping? A lot of people lost out on these PP loans and government to benefits because they didn't have proper
And they
documentation.
paperwork in order. Yeah.
Right. So when you're teaching these strategies and creating a business plan, are you incorporating the benefits and just the benefits of what record keeping is?
Yes, we talk about it. I usually let them know they need, because I'm not a CPA. I'm not
Mhm.
on the financial, aspect. I do know the basics. I
Right.
know how to create the plan as far as financial plan and the numbers. And I do have um, a team that work with me that can, say, okay, this is what these numbers are. However, I usually guide them, now we set in the business is set up, your next step. Here is a CPA, here's a book, here are things
Right.
that
Okay. You referred it.
need,
Okay.
right?
Right.
But the one of the biggest obstacles is that, and for even them to get to that part, and they should be getting to that part, is marketing.
Right. Right.
It's interesting. It's something you mentioned. You keep reiterating the fact of a CPA, and people tend to not know the difference between a CPA and an accountant. And I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, you got to learn to live your life like a business. There's only two systems. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, rich or poor, male or female. It's either you an employee or you a business. And, because as an employee, you only got about 7, 8 tax deductions, but as a business, you got up to 475 tax deductions. And the ordinary accountant don't really know those business tax codes to really give them the benefit of running a business as they should.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Right.
And I've run across individuals, not I mean, and now I know better, but I'm like, okay, I need to file my business tax, and they're like, "Hmm?"
Exactly.
I've learned my lesson. Like,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
have to go seek a professional.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Dr. Neva, let me ask you this, because I mean we're talking about women, and we know more women now are taking Fortune 500 companies, to the highest level. They're really doing it now. Why do you think, even though they're still becoming successful, they still having such a hard time? So hold that thought, and we'll answer that question when we come back. So we'll be right back.
All right.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
Great having you. Incredible women. I wish they had those kind of cool careers for women when we were growing up.
So in this flashback, we're all the same age?
Yeah.
What does everyone want to be when they grow up?
If I say 2 jobs, do I get extra credit?
No.
I want to make immersive video games. I want to revolutionize 3D printing. I want to analyze data from the cloud.
I want to be a meteor.
You mean meteorologist?
Yeah.
That's great, Al. Follow your dreams.
For the record, I was a baby in the 70s.
Hi, we're back celebrating Women's History Month with our special guest, Dr. Neva Alexander. Now, before we went to break, I was talking about, since women now are really taking charge of their companies and really, really becoming successful. But even though they are becoming successful, they are still given a hard time. They still are not paid the money, that the men are paid. It's like, why do you think, or either what do you think we need to do to change this, that we should be recognized just like the men are recognized?
One of the things I think we can do is, and I'm sure you know this, work together.
Mm-hmm.
Because we like to, okay, we can do it on our own. We push further on our own. One person get there, but there's a cap on that one individual. And they don't want to grab up others to that level because they're afraid that they may lose, right? So I would love to say, you know, sit here and say, well, men can do this and men can give us the more opportunity, and but I believe we have to take the opportunities ourselves and leverage and collaborate to make things happen.
But what did you mean just now when you say when we should bring the other ones up that we think that we should lose? Because truthfully, I think it's because we're too jealous of each other. That's one thing. Now let's just put it out there like it is. We are jealous over each other for whatever reason I do not know. If you are successful in your business, rather than us finding out how did you become successful, and can you help me or teach me, you know, what did you do to become successful? We too busy talking about you. Who does she think she is? And you know, they think they this because they driving this car now and all that kind of stuff, but not knowing what you had to go through to drive that car. So that means you earn to drive that car. So, but if you are not willing to share, see, we don't want to share with each other. If I find out something, I'm going to tell my friend what I found out. It's just like when you go to a good restaurant and you have a good meal, I come back and tell all my friends, look, you need to go to that restaurant, child. That food was good. So that's the same thing to me when I'm talking to someone and they have become successful in their empire. I want to know, how did you get there?
I want to know too. But what I've relied on is pretty much going and looking at books and listening to videos and hearing what others have to say. Right? Because I don't have those individuals that genuinely, I'm just being straight up, very few that genuinely care to share how they have done it. And there are a few that have done it. But did not maintain it. You get it? So they haven't maintained it to really. So I was like a song that's a one-hit wonder, a person that's a one-hit wonder. So they can't really share that information now to pull you up and tell you this. They could tell you what happened there and then what happened, right? So those are the two you follow that you have.
Well, and also too, I know one thing you have to do. You have to do is you have to stay with positive people. You have to be around positive people. Seriously.
Like-minded people.
Yeah. Yes. People mind who wants to do something, who's determined to do something. Because if you don't, and you stand around negative people all the time talking about what you can't do, you'll be acting just like them after a while. Like you, in your head, you'll be thinking you can't do it.
But you know, Lottie, that goes back to businesses, right? A lot of businesses that have the same type of service, they're all working in silos. So when you have these grants and these opportunities and funding mechanism, they can come together as a collaborative to bring these type of funding mechanism to their communities. Exactly. And they work in silos. So
they don't want to do that.
I love what you just said. Listen, and this person, probably, I hope she watches this.
Well, we're recording it.
Around in the pandemic, the beginning of the pandemic, there was a grant opportunity. And they said I have a nonprofit. She has the certification. They said, why don't you join, right, together? And see, and her response was, oh, well, Dr. Neva and I are not doing the same things.
That's it.
That's it. It's crazy. I mean, I've been on grants. We have done grants. I also have a nonprofit as well. But the thing is, you can get so much with the parts than trying to get the whole on your own. And this is and this is also how a lot of businesses fail, because they're working in silos. Maybe you have a component to that grant that you can qualify for, that you service that you provide. I have another component to it. Lottie have another component. And hey, let's get this grant, let's get this funding, and let's make this collaborative, right? You know, this collaborative effort. And that's another problem that's out there. People don't want to share ideas like we're talking about.
Definitely. And they
Because
don't
they're
want,
too afraid that you might get more than they do, or they might
yeah.
think your business might do better than theirs. That's the problem. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
And I
Yeah,
want to
but
say,
this mindset, I don't know what it is.
and so let me tell you, some of these people too, I've dealt with individuals like, okay, you already made them, you are in the millions, millions. You understand? Why you threaten?
Exactly. But there's enough money to go around. It's sad.
Because you might get $1 from their million.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
That they can't write off as a tax expense.
So I mean, unfortunately, I guess we have to reprogram our minds.
Yes.
I remember in high school, a teacher would say to don't be a crab in the barrel, and a lot of times that's what it is in the real world. That's what it is, especially unfortunately amongst women. Yeah, and it's important to be around positive people, be around people who will say, yeah, we got this, right?
And we don't want them to say nay neither, to have critical criticism. You want to be around those people as well to let you know what you're not doing right or what they don't see, or maybe you have a vision that they don't see that's beneficial to what you're doing.
Yeah. But it's also, and I agree, and there's also a way to say it too.
Yes.
We
talk about
it's not you know why it's not even people that have made it, that's successful, that's millionaires or whatever, because sometimes a lot of them can be petty too, but most of the time they're interested in making more money, so they don't have a problem listening to you to find out how they can make more money for how you have made your money. But see, the little petty stuff comes from the people who are not making the millions, but they just complain about everything. I don't care if you bite the sandwich the wrong way, they are complaining about that. It's just always something negative, and it's always coming from the women all the time.
They don't want to share the
Rather than
platform.
uplifting you, it is. I mean, I'm just telling it like it is. It's always the woman has to say something negative about the other woman.
But Lottie, sometimes too, although entrepreneurships are maybe at that same level of business, right? But also the people that you try to help, if you have a product or service, right? Sometimes they're not as receptive to receive what you have coming from a woman, and particularly sometimes a woman of color. And depending on where you promote and market your product or service to, sometimes you don't have that support as well.
Oh no, you definitely ain't gonna get it for them looking like us. No, you're not getting it from them. So I mean, let's just tell it like it is. And that's where the problem comes from. And hopefully, one day I might not be here to see it, because I'm getting ready to go on to glory now. I might not be here to see it, but I do hope that it will change. That us women can really stick together and help each other, and stop always downing each other, stop criticizing each other all the time or whatever. I mean, just to give each other a compliment. If I see you and you looking good, I say something. I let you know right quick. Look, now I ain't funny. I'm just letting you know you look good. You know what I'm saying? So give you a nice compliment or something like that. But we don't even want to give each other a nice compliment. It's always you coming to see what you can talk about or criticize all the time.
Well,
if we can change that,
but if I give you a compliment, you might end up, especially if I say you look good, then the person I'm interested in, might think you look good, and then I lose that person. I can't have that.
Well, sometimes, ladies, it's also culturally.
Yeah.
Right? There's a big component to it. If you live in New York and most of these multicultural places, it's a lot of culturally. Like when you go to Dubai and abroad, a lot of them have been to Dubai, and we know how the sexes are divided here and there, and it may be something they can do, they can't do, and what's in the scope of what they can do. So you have a cultural component too, because sometimes if you're not culturally competent, you're not really getting to the people who may really benefit from your product or service as well.
Yeah, and I mean, when I'm over there, it's like there are a lot of women's circles, and there's a lot of things that we will talk about and do and support each other.
Mhm.
It's a difference.
Yes.
But I guess they feel they don't have the option to not do that, right?
Mhm.
On this side is can be a little bit catty,
Yes.
Well, I think we need to do more, and maybe you will add this also into your career when you were talking to them, talking to women. Is we have to build their self-esteem. You have to have self-esteem. If you don't have any self-esteem, you don't have anything. Okay, you must have good self-esteem, because if you don't if you don't love yourself, who else is going to love you?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You have to love yourself, because no one else is going to love you at that time. And so if you have that self-esteem, you wouldn't be criticizing all the time, because you want someone to help build your spirit, so you be willing to build someone else's spirit. That's how I look at it. Is the self-esteem and stuff. Well, anyway, we got to that point. So hopefully you can stick around for the after show, because we're going to finish up our little conversation in the after show. And if you're watching, you can still join us in the after show. You can go with Facebook and YouTube and continue watching us on the after show. So women, look, we're doing it. Let's keep doing it. Let's stop criticizing each other. Let's work together. Let's network together, because together we can build that empire. So we want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for watching. And Dr. Neva, we want to thank you for joining us today. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
It's Shannon. 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 Keeping it real.
Hi, I hope you stuck around for our after show, because we was getting pretty hot there, but I always get carried away anyway, when we start talking about hot stuff. But I mean, I was just trying to be honest with what's going on, because we're always trying to sweep stuff under the rug all the time. And we really know what the real deal is. And I just hope that at some point that, we could just stop this negativism about each other all the time, because because it hurts us as women, because that's how come the men look at us in a different way, particularly, men is successful, and then you trying to become successful. So they look at you as being, when they see catty women, then they think all of us is catty. And that's not the way it is. But then we all get the same reputation, that we're all catty about everything,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. I guess you know what you know, and you know who you know. So we always say something. When like we have a saying, you got to do something for something, do you? Right. So you got to be able to out there sometime and take that leap of faith, like you talk about self-esteem, and get it out there and knowing your boundaries, knowing what you can do, and just go for it. Sometimes people have a lot of great ideas, they just don't know how to put it in a plan, because they're not around positive people like Dr. Neva who can help them and guide them. A lot of things out there that people don't know about: a business plan. What is a business plan? How important a business plan is to have. And I'm glad that you're doing these things. And I'm not sure who your target audience is. If it's like younger individuals or people just coming with ideas.
A lot of referrals, and it's all ages. It's grandmothers. It's police officers. It's just a wide range of individuals that I work with. Yeah.
So Dr. David, now we were saying, our topic today was challenges of success. You like I said, you have become very successful. So Could you tell us like maybe some of the challenges, a couple of stories of some of the challenges that was knocking at your door that you had to, maybe knock somebody out or something.
Okay, so success is relative. I'm gonna say that for number one, right? So I'm always on a progress. I'm always on a journey. What's the next step? You understand? So I don't want people. Oh, so she is. Oh, okay. So for me, being successful, I'm moving along. I'm all right, right? Someone's success is they're making buku, of money, right? So some of the challenges that I've faced, they are, for instance, I went to far away in Kenya, and an ambassador there tried to jeopardize me registering a business there because of a man. Yes.
Wow.
I've dealt with individuals, and I mentioned before, not wanting to collaborate. Right? So versus, we could have gotten, say, for example, that was $1 million grant.
Wow. Okay.
If we all chipped in, we'd have gotten something for business. Now we got zero, right? So that's one. I've dealt with not being able to, I wouldn't say, because I do rely on my own account or finance, but there have been times when I've, tried to see if I can level up with getting a loan, and it hasn't. So I've just stuck to the conventional way or the traditional way, right? So, I mean, there are many different challenges that I've faced, and I've dealt with people just not wanting to give me an opportunity based on not just being a woman, but my skin color. So that's another thing that I face. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking when you were talking because one of my friends, right? She's become successful now. She owned her own agency and everything, but she told the story of one of her challenges that she was doing insurance. She was selling insurance, right? So she worked with a lot of men. She was the only woman in the office, and so when she came back from lunch one day, they had taken her desk and put it on the street, call themselves, being mean spirited and funny. That's what they call it. They put it on the street, right, to make her angry and everything. So rather than her getting angry, she was upset at first, but rather than her getting angry, what she did was she took her desk and pushed it to the corner of the street, like where you near the corner where people are coming up on the street. And she set her desk up. And as people came by, she asked them, do they want to buy insurance and stuff?
That's a boss.
And she sold so much, and she got people to take out so many policies that day that when she came, what she did was she got someone to bring the desk back to the office and then let them know how much insurance she had sold that day. So when the month was over, she had sold more insurance than any of them had. So the joke was on them. When they thought they was putting the joke on her. So what I'm saying, this is a mean spirit challenge. So she took and turned her challenge into success.
Yeah. And with the Kenya story that I shared, I'm glad she did what she did because I didn't, it wasn't for me. It wasn't, that location wasn't for me. So it worked out, but I don't think she realized, like, I know. Again, there are two people that I called out today. Y'all getting all the tea. But yeah, she hasn't realized, oh, I know this. But do I become enemies? No. You keep doing what you do. You smile and keep pushing forward, and the right doors that belongs to you will open.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah,
you got to kill them with success and kindness, a smile, and keep it moving. That's the best way to do it.
Exactly, because that way they don't know where you're coming from. They don't know what direction you're coming from because they know they did something to you, but you still smiling about it. You haven't said anything, you haven't done anything. Because normally when you do something to someone, it's gonna come to light anyway. You're gonna
Yes,
find out about it
Oh
eventually,
yeah.
who was
exactly.
involved and who did it or whatever, you know.
Exactly. And I love to say that I compete against myself. I don't compete
Mhm.
against you. It's what, I want to get better from yesterday. And that's what I
Mhm.
keep doing. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, you mentioned something earlier before we started the show, a business that you used to do. So I'm going to talk about that after the show. So I know it's something I can get out of that, and maybe something I can give you as well. A lot of times, people don't know that there's barter issues, barter compliments. That sometimes people don't have a monetary value to pay for something.
Mhm.
There are things that are called barters. Maybe I got something she could use, something that I could use what cases. So there's another way. That's another way of collaborating as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
And
I'm a big barterer. I'm a big barterer. I'm
I
always
know,
making.
Lottie. I know. I know. Let me tell you something. Lottie invite you to an event, have you pay for the ticket, it got you working there too. I'm like, what? What is going on?
I think she needs help, you
Wait,
know?
wait a minute. Oh, wait. Want you to work and pay for a ticket and
That-
clean up. Wait, come in early so we can set up, get the
Mhm.
moving while we doing the event, and then
Mhm.
clean up after. I'm like, what's going on? You know, Lottie gonna work you
barter,
for
Mhm.
barter. This is what you have to do. You have to barter.
I just remember another challenge, the more that you get into business, it's like, I mean, and I think this happened not just in business, but what I noticed, like you have less people around you. It
Yes,
could be a very lonely feeling at
yes,
times,
yes,
you know,
yes,
and not knowing sometimes who to trust. You're always, on guard and stuff like
yes.
that. So even sometimes you want to collaborate and you want to do certain things, there's this trust issue and a lonely world.
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
it's
Yes,
true.
because of like you said, the trust issue. Like you
Mhm.
can't feel relaxed enough to say, okay, we're gonna do this together, and I don't have to worry about is that person gonna put a knife in my back,
Right.
while we're trying to make this work. We want to just go into the deal together,
Mhm.
work together. Because the thing about it is when we going into the deal together and everything, we're supposed to be excited about what we're doing. We're supposed to be excited about the business that we're trying to build or whatever we're trying to do
Mhm.
together. We're supposed to be excited about it. So that way we all doing what we have to do to make it work.
Yeah.
But I do recommend, although some people may be childhood friends or best friends and here and there, my attitude today is that business is business, and if you don't have it in writing, it's as if it's no business have occurred.
Exactly. Exactly. And
I
that's another thing. You need to say that again. It has to be in writing.
exactly.
I don't care if it's your mother, brother, or whoever it is. If you decided on something, put it in writing.
Yes. Cover
Because if
yourself.
not,
Yes.
I can tell you,
Ah,
family is
We
just as
all
bad
can
as
tell each other of something that happens around.
it's sad
I'm
to
telling
see.
you, it doesn't matter who it is, family or outside person. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing because for some reason, when something happened,
Mhm.
people tend to forget what they said.
Amnesia set in with the quickness. You
Exactly.
can do with age.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
just like when someone dies, if it ain't in writing, everybody meets to fight.
And
And they
Exactly.
that cost me $50,000 once.
Wow.
Yeah.
for
Wow.
not putting something in writing.
Yeah.
Learn
Not
experience.
I didn't do it the right way, I should say. Um it was in writing but not in writing. So there was a business, the where we formed a business,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but the agreement was not there to really say this is what it is. So it just came across like, oh, we just lost the business and boom, but that wasn't the original agreement.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes,
that's true. Sometimes it takes money to make money, but also takes money to lose money
exactly.
as well.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Well, ladies, I have certainly enjoyed this conversation, and I have learned a lot. And Dr. Neva, I will be calling you on the side to find out some information, you know.
Be careful with that phone call.
I will be calling you, because we are doing a ladies' tea on March 26th. And, I might need you to be a sponsor. You know what I mean?
You see? I told you. Lottie gonna melt you.
No, but what I do,
that's the sales, you gotta put it out
well, the
there.
thing about it is, see, if Dr. Neva does it, then she knows she can always call me. If she want me to do something for her, they always know they can call me. Anybody knows me, know you can call me. I don't say
I'm gonna
no.
be calling you too, Lottie.
Whatever. Yes. I follow through on whatever I say I'm going to do. So I want to thank you, Dr. Neva, for taking the time to come on. And I want to congratulate you on your success, because you're doing so much, not only here in the States, you're global. So when you're global, that means you are very successful,
Absolutely.
But people are getting information across the water, and the people on this side of the water really need to take advantage of what you offer and what you can do for them, regardless of what their amount is. And we have to stop thinking everything is too expensive when we'll take that money and go spend it in something else, when we can take that money to gain knowledge or, build a business or whatever by getting information from someone else. So thank you so much, and much continued success to you. And, you'll come back again and talk to us again.
Yes, why not? More tea.
All right.
Keeping it real.
That's right. And we like to spill the tea here, and we like to get tea. We like that tea coming in. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, audience, for joining us tonight. Diane and Kathy, hello to you too. And as always, we'll see you next time.
All righty.